You ever find yourself wondering if love after 60 is even possible anymore? I mean, really wondering. Not just the fantasy kind you see in movies, but the real, messy, beautiful butterflies in the stomach kind of connection. If you have, you're not alone. I've been there too, sitting on my couch, sipping tea, scrolling through old memories and thinking, is this chapter over for me? Let me tell you, it's not. Getting back into the dating world after 60 might sound intimidating. It did to me at first. I'd been married for decades, raised kids, worked hard, and built a life that didn't include swiping on apps or flirting over lattes. But when I found myself single again, whether by divorce or loss, I had to ask myself a scary question. Now what? And that's where this journey begins. Not with grand declarations, but with small, honest steps. Now, before we dive deep, let's talk about something interesting. Did you know that according to a 2023 Pew Research study, nearly 1 in 5 adults over 60 are now dating or open to dating again? That number surprised me. It means we're not alone in this. There's a growing community of people just like us, rediscovering love, connection, and maybe even joy after what feels like a lifetime. What I'll be sharing with you throughout this video series is based on my own experience, what I've learned, what I've fumbled through, and what actually helped me reconnect with someone in a meaningful way. And we'll sprinkle in some science and stories from others too, because your journey is unique, but the emotions are universal. So here's the roadmap. We're going to talk about the emotional hurdles, the mental reset, how to use dating tools without losing your mind, how to spot red flags, and most importantly, how to enjoy the process. Because dating isn't just about finding someone, it's about finding yourself again. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. Let's start with this. Your mindset matters more than your dating profile. Seriously, when I first considered dating again, I had 1,000 doubts. Am I too old? What if I've forgotten how to flirt? What if no one finds me attractive anymore? If any of those sound familiar, take a breath. They're completely normal. But here's something powerful. Our brains are capable of change at any age. Psychologists call it neuroplasticity. Studies from Harvard and Stanford have shown that people over 60 can still grow new neural connections, especially when engaging in emotionally meaningful activities, like forming new relationships. In other words, your heart isn't the only thing that benefits from dating again. Your brain does too. For me, the turning point came when I stopped seeing dating as a desperate hunt and started seeing it as an adventure. Not every coffee date had to be a love story. Sometimes it was just a chance to hear someone's story, learn something new, or even get a free cappuccino and a good laugh. Once I took the pressure off, I started having fun again. That said, it wasn't all sunshine. I had moments where I felt completely out of place. I tried a dating app and matched with someone 30 years younger who thought I was inspiring. Sweet, but not quite what I was looking for. Still, I learned something even from that awkward experience. The only way to start is to start. Imperfectly, awkwardly, bravely. A friend of mine, Carol, started dating again at 67 after being widowed. She told me, I thought I'd only love once in my life. I didn't know I had space in my heart for something new. Today, she's happily spending time with someone who shares her love of hiking and homemade jam. She glows when she talks about him, not because she's trying to recreate the past, but because she allowed herself to be open to the present. And that's the real secret. Be open, not desperate. Curious, not cynical. Hopeful, not naive. Now let's talk about one thing that trips people up a lot: expectations. When we're young, dating is all about finding the one. But after 60, I think it's more about finding the right now. Someone who complements your current life, respects your journey, and brings peace rather than chaos. You're not building a future from scratch. You're adding color to a canvas that's already rich with history. That's beautiful. So if you're thinking, but I haven't dated in decades, that's okay. Most of us haven't. It's like riding a bike, except this time, you've got a better helmet, more confidence, and hopefully fewer scraped knees. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Before we move on, I want to leave you with this little exercise. Take 5 minutes today and write down what you'd actually want in a companion now. Not what you wanted at 25, not what others think you should want, but what matters to you today. Companionship? Shared values? Laughter? Security? Knowing that can change everything. Alright, in the next part, we'll talk about the emotional landscape of dating after 60, how to handle vulnerability, past baggage, and those little voices that say you're too old for this. Trust me, you're not. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. Alright, now that we've got that covered, let's pick up where we left off. So we talked about mindset and why it matters more than having the perfect dating profile. Now let's talk about something we often don't address enough: the emotional side of dating after 60. Let's be honest, re-entering the dating scene at this age can bring up a mix of emotions. Hope, excitement, and also grief, fear, even guilt. Maybe you're widowed and feel like moving on is betraying your late partner. Maybe you've been through a painful divorce and you're afraid of getting hurt again. Or maybe you've been single so long, it's hard to imagine letting someone into your life again. All of that is real. And it's okay. I remember one evening when I was getting ready for a first date after many years. I stood in front of the mirror and suddenly felt tears welling up. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was more like the weight of everything I'd lived through coming to the surface. The love I lost, the time that passed, the changes in my body, my confidence, my heart. It felt like I was stepping into a new identity, and that can be overwhelming. But here's something that helped me, and might help you too. The emotions you're feeling aren't signs that you're not ready. They're signs that you care, that you're human, and that you're brave enough to try. Psychologists call this process narrative reconstruction. It's when we start rewriting the stories we've told ourselves about love, aging, and possibility. According to a study published in the Journal of Aging Studies, older adults who allow themselves to reframe their romantic past with compassion and curiosity tend to have better emotional outcomes when dating again. That really stuck with me. It means you're allowed to look back and honor what was, without letting it dictate what can still be. Let's talk for a moment about guilt, because I know a lot of people struggle with it. If you've lost a partner, dating again can feel like you're replacing them. But you're not. You're not trying to fill a void. You're building something new. A different kind of love. And it doesn't dishonor the past to seek joy in the present. One of my closest friends, Daniel, lost his wife of 40 years. For a long time, he couldn't even imagine talking to another woman, let alone going on a date. But eventually, after lots of healing and a little nudging from friends, he went out for coffee with someone from his gardening club. And you know what? They didn't fall madly in love right away. But they did laugh and talk. And they didn't feel lonely that afternoon. Now they meet up every weekend, and Daniel says it feels like having a warm chapter 2. So here's the truth: you're allowed to move forward. You're allowed to laugh again, to flirt, to feel wanted, to want someone. You're allowed to be hopeful. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Dating has changed. A lot. The first time I heard someone say swipe right, I thought they were talking about cleaning a touch screen. But once I got past the technology, and believe me, it took a little time, I realized that online dating isn't the monster I feared it would be. Yes, there are some strange profiles out there. And yes, it's okay to feel a little overwhelmed at first. But here's a tip: don't think of online dating as shopping for a partner. Think of it like browsing stories. Some will be interesting, some won't. But every message you send or receive is a little doorway. You don't have to walk through all of them. You just need to find the ones that feel worth exploring. There are dating sites specifically for people over 50 and over 60. These platforms can actually be more relaxed and respectful than the ones aimed at younger folks. You'll find people who are looking for connection, companionship, even travel partners. You might not find your soulmate in the first week, or even the first year, but you will grow from the experience. And here's the key: don't rush. Don't force it. Let it unfold. One step at a time. I also want to acknowledge how hard it can be to feel vulnerable again. When you're younger, vulnerability comes easier somehow. But after 60, we've built up layers. We've protected our hearts through all kinds of storms. Letting someone in again can feel like opening an old wound. But vulnerability isn't weakness. In fact, it's a strength. Dr. Brené Brown, a researcher and best-selling author, says that vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, and joy. And I believe that's true, especially for us in this stage of life. We've earned the right to be seen, fully and honestly. So here's my challenge for you this week. Practice vulnerability in small ways. Reach out to a friend and tell them how much they mean to you. Share a piece of your story with someone new. Or even just look in the mirror and speak kindly to yourself. These small moments build emotional muscle. And that's what makes dating feel less scary. As we wrap up this section, I want to leave you with this thought. You're not starting over. You're starting again. And this time, you bring experience, wisdom, and resilience to the table. That's not a weakness, it's your superpower. In our next part, we're going to talk about how to actually navigate dating today. What to look for, what to avoid, how to protect your energy, and how to spot real connection in a sea of small talk. You're doing great so far. Keep going. Okay, let's keep going. At this point, you might be feeling more emotionally ready to take that next step, even if your palms are still a little sweaty at the thought of a first date. That's completely normal. Now it's time to get practical. How do you actually do this dating thing in today's world without feeling overwhelmed or out of place? Let's start with where to meet people. Online dating is one way, sure, but it's not the only way. There's still something special about meeting someone face-to-face. Community centers, hobby clubs, volunteering opportunities, fitness classes tailored to older adults. These aren't just ways to fill your calendar, they're places where connection happens naturally. When I joined a local watercolor class, I wasn't thinking about dating. I just wanted to try something new. But that's where I met someone who shared my love of art and dad jokes. It didn't turn into a grand romance, but it reminded me that sparks can fly in the most ordinary places. Now, let's say you do meet someone, whether online or in person. How do you protect your heart and your peace of mind? First things first, trust your intuition. If something feels off, it probably is. At our age, we've learned a thing or two about people, and your instincts are sharper than you think. But sometimes we get so caught up in the excitement or the fear of being alone that we ignore the red flags. So here are a few things to watch for. If someone tries to rush the relationship, asks for money, avoids answering personal questions, or seems too good to be true, they probably are. A 2022 report from the Federal Trade Commission found that romance scams cost older adults more than any other group. And I hate that, because you deserve love, not manipulation. That said, not everyone is out to take advantage of you. There are plenty of genuine, kind-hearted people also looking for companionship. The trick is to go slow. Have a few phone calls before meeting. Meet in public places. Let a friend or family member know where you're going. These aren't signs of mistrust, they're just smart, empowering habits. When I started dating again, I created a little checklist, not for them, but for me. I asked myself after each interaction, did I feel heard? Did I feel like I could be myself? Did I leave the date feeling more energized or more drained? If it was the latter more than once, I took that as a sign. And don't underestimate the power of chemistry, not just romantic chemistry, but conversational rhythm. If the conversation flows easily, if you feel like you're both showing up with genuine curiosity, that's a very good sign. Now let's talk about something a little deeper, body image. Because dating after 60 means confronting the physical changes we've all gone through. I've had friends say, I don't look the way I used to. Why would anyone be attracted to me now? Here's what I've learned. Real connection doesn't come from tight skin or flat stomachs. It comes from warmth, laughter, honesty, and confidence. And confidence doesn't mean pretending you're flawless. It means knowing your worth, even with the wrinkles, the graying hair, and the knee that makes that weird noise when you stand up too fast. A fascinating study from the University of Chicago found that adults over 60 who reported higher self-acceptance and body appreciation were more likely to feel satisfied in romantic relationships, even new ones. So if you're feeling insecure, start by being gentle with yourself. Wear clothes that make you feel comfortable and authentic. Take care of your health because it helps you feel better, not because you're trying to impress anyone. And be honest, you don't have to pretend to be 10 years younger Or say you love hiking when your idea of cardio is chasing your dog around the backyard. Authenticity is magnetic. When someone really likes you, they're not measuring your waist, they're paying attention to your presence. Let me tell you a quick story. I went on a coffee date with a retired teacher named Susan. She walked in wearing a bright scarf, a contagious smile, and zero pretense. She didn't try to act younger. She didn't hide her age. She just owned who she was. And you know what? That confidence was captivating. She told me, "I've got laugh lines, but that's just proof I've laughed a lot." I loved that. We didn't end up together, but she reminded me that real attraction has less to do with youth and more to do with aliveness. And speaking of confidence, don't underestimate the joy of giving someone else a compliment. Dating after 60 isn't just about being chosen. It's about choosing too. Let someone know when they make you smile. Tell them they have kind eyes or a lovely laugh or a perspective that inspires you. Giving affection openly is just as important as receiving it. Finally, let's touch on something we don't talk about enough: rejection. Even at our age, it stings. But it's not the end of the world. It's not even a reflection of your worth. Sometimes it's just two puzzle pieces that don't quite fit. And that's okay. The key is not to take it personally. You're not auditioning for love. You're exploring compatibility. Think of every interaction as practice. Each date, each conversation, even the ones that don't go anywhere, they're all helping you get clearer about what you want, what you don't want, and how you want to feel. So if you've gone on a date that didn't lead to fireworks, congratulations. You're out there. You're living. You're growing. And that's worth celebrating. Now, in the final part of this series, we're going to wrap things up with a few powerful takeaways. How to stay optimistic, how to stay grounded, and how to keep your heart open even when things don't go perfectly. I'll also share one final story that changed the way I look at dating completely. You've come this far, let's bring it home together. So here we are, the final stretch. If you've made it this far, that already says something wonderful about you. You're open, you're curious, you're brave. And that's half the battle when it comes to dating again after 60. You're showing up for yourself, and that's something to be proud of. Let's take a breath and look back at where we've been. We talked about mindset, how stepping into dating after 60 isn't about starting over, but starting again. We talked about emotions, vulnerability, the shifting landscape of relationships, and how technology has changed the way people connect. We covered safety, body image, rejection, and how to tune into your inner compass when navigating new connections. And through it all, I hope you've seen one big message shining through. You are not too old, too late, or too far gone for love. Now let's talk about staying the course, because dating, like anything else in life, has its ups and downs. There might be dry spells. There might be disappointing conversations or awkward silences. There might be moments when you want to throw your phone out the window or skip that local meetup you signed up for. I get it, but every time you say, "I'm willing to try," you're keeping your heart open. And that's where the magic happens. A little while ago, I met a woman named Clara at a senior wellness retreat. She had been single for nearly 20 years. She told me that in her late 50s, she gave dating a try, got ghosted a couple of times, and gave up. Then in her 70s, something shifted. "I realized I was waiting for life to find me," she said, "but I needed to go out and meet it." So she joined a walking group. She made friends. She started saying yes to more invitations. And wouldn't you know it, at 74, she met someone. They're now traveling together, exploring local museums, and cooking Sunday dinners side by side. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened. And it all started with one small step. That's what I want to leave you with. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't need to find the one by next Tuesday. You just need to say yes to the next right thing. Maybe that's setting up a profile on a dating site. Maybe it's texting an old friend to go to a dance. Maybe it's simply believing that you still deserve joy, companionship, and intimacy. One more piece of science to lift you up. A study from Stanford University found that emotional well-being continues to increase with age, and that includes our capacity for love and meaningful relationships. In fact, older adults often report more satisfaction and less drama in their relationships than younger people. Why? Because we've lived. We know what matters. We communicate more clearly. We don't waste time on games. That's your edge. And here's something else worth remembering. You get to decide what dating looks like for you. Maybe you're looking for a lifelong partner. Maybe you want a travel buddy, a dinner date, or someone to talk to at night. There's no right version of love. There's only the version that brings you joy, peace, and growth. So where do you go from here? Start small. Set one intention this week. Say hello to someone new. Compliment a stranger. Sign up for a local class, or even just spend a few minutes browsing online profiles, without pressure. Treat it like an adventure. Stay curious. And above all, stay kind. To others, yes, but also to yourself. You're not the person you were at 30, and that's a gift. You've learned, grown, endured, and loved. And you still have so much to give. As we wrap up this video, let me leave you with a quote that stuck with me for years. It's by George Eliot, and it goes like this: "It is never too late to be what you might have been." That includes being loved, being seen, being cherished for who you are, not in spite of your age, but because of everything it's taught you. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age.